Welcome back, Pandemic Pre-Calculus. I hope you're well. In this video, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about a vertical asymptote and how you could find one. So we've been working with this example so far. We've had this nice function. Let me write it in neater. So we've been working with this function. F of x is equal to x plus 3 divided by x squared minus 9. And we found the domain of this function by factoring our denominator and setting that denominator equal to 0. And so we were able to find that the domain of this function was actually negative infinity to negative 3, union negative 3 to positive 3, union positive 3 to positive infinity. So that's our domain. But then notice here we identified that we actually have a common factor of x plus 3 in the numerator and denominator that we're free to cancel out. The last video goes into a little bit more detail with this. And so that we're able to write our function actually as 1 over x minus 3. This is our fully simplified version of f of x. So what happens when we try to graph this function? So one thing I would notice if I were you and I had studied my transformations of functions is that if I look at the reciprocal function, that's the graph 1 over x is our reciprocal function. Let's call that y. This minus 3 here is a horizontal shift, 3 in the positive x direction. So that means that that's going to take our reciprocal function graph and we're going to shift it over plus 3 units. So that's what the graph is going to look like. And this graph is going to have a vertical asymptote. So let's get a beautiful little x and y axis set up here. And I'll show you what a vertical asymptote is here and what it means. So we're going to shift our whole graph over. So we know that the reciprocal function, I'll do it here in yellow, then I'll erase it. You know this is what the reciprocal function looks like. This is one of our toolkit functions. It looks a little bit like that. Mine's very messy here. Let's make it neater. We know that it goes through this point, 1, 1, and negative 1, negative 1. It has that kind of U shape. A little bit. And that's what our reciprocal function looks like. And all I'm going to do is drag this over by 3 units. We have here a vertical asymptote at x is equal to 0, because that would cause us to divide by 0, and that's a big problem. But what we have with our new function is we actually have shifted that over. We have a removable discontinuity at x is equal to negative 3. And we have a vertical asymptote at x is equal to positive 3. So I'm going to sketch in our vertical asymptote first. I think that's the best move, honestly, is to put your asymptotes there. Because you know your function is kind of being guided, I guess you would say, by these. So I know I have a vertical asymptote and a horizontal asymptote, just like the reciprocal function. And I'm going to have this point here and this point here. But remember we had that domain restriction that x is equal to negative 3 should not be in the domain of our function. So how can we show that removable discontinuity? Well, I'll show you. So this would be our graph of our function. This is the vertical asymptote that we get. And then our removable discontinuity, all that happens here is we can actually say our new function, our simplified function, f of x, is equal to 1 over x minus 3. If I plugged in that value of 3, positive 3, sorry, if I plugged in that value of negative 3, where our domain restriction is, -3 here, I would get 1 over -3 minus 3, and that would give me about -1/6. That's not in the domain of our function, though. So what we do is we go to that point, -3 and about at 1/6. So just an estimate here, as I can't really draw. And you draw this little circle. And what that says is, look, our function is close to that value of -1/6, but we have a removable discontinuity that we removed there. That's the notation. That's how you show a removable discontinuity at that point. And then you just draw the rest of your graph like that. And that's how you would graph this function with a vertical asymptote and removable discontinuity. Oh, I hope that was helpful. Now you've seen a vertical asymptote. We'll do a little bit more with these in the next video, and then we're going to get into horizontal asymptotes, and that should be kind of interesting. All right, I hope you're well. Stay safe out there, friends.